Hi everyone, today is 12th December 2020 and it's a very special day because I am bringing 4 eminent characters to this forum today. Those are very good students who have won a design competition in Sri Lanka. They won the first place in 2 categories under interactive wall and beat sculpture. The Port City held the competition and these students won the first place of that competition. Coming back, this competition was very competitive because all Sri Lankan students who were living in Sri Lanka studying art and architecture as well as people who are in abroad also could attend to this competition. So winning the first place is a great achievement and it's unmeasurable pleasure those students must be having now. So first I would like to introduce the person who has won the interactive wall competition, Javanese. Hi, Java.
Hi everyone. I'm Javanese. I'm from Jaffna. I studied at Jaffna Hindu College for my schooling, and now currently I'm at the University of Marwar following architecture final year.
All right. The next one, the bead sculpture. The competition was won by 3 students from City School of Architecture, Viranga, Tarindu, and Pulasti. Kindly introduce yourselves as well.
Hi, I'm Viranga Vaduge. I studied in Gateway College, Kandy for my A-levels. And I'm a 5th year student of City School of Architecture, currently undergoing training as a junior architect.
Yeah, I'm Tarindu Pereira. So I studied at Prince of Wales College, Moratuwa. So I'm also training as a junior architect now.
Hi, I'm Pulasti Handunge. I studied at Trinity College, Kandy, and currently I'm a 5th year student at City School of Architecture, and I'm working as a architecture intern. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much for agreeing to come over here and present your schemes and share your brilliant design ideas with us. So first, without taking much time, because I'm really interested to see what you have guys done and to see how competitive these ideas was and what you have gone through to come to this level and win the competition. So first, I would like to open the forum to Javanese to present his scheme, Interactive Wall. Over to you, Java.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. I hope everyone can see my presentation.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So my project is called Ethereal Reflection. So I designed this interactive wall. So first we go to my design. I had to introduce something. So some of you might have came across this architect. So he is Carlo Ratti. He's from Italy. So he's a designer and engineer and inventor. So what he usually do is he integrate the technology with the design. So he follow a style called responsive architecture. So the design speak with people. So there have been interaction with people and the design. So he do some innovative ideas in architecture and product design, etc. So when we come to the competition, my competition category was to design an interactive wall. The theme they have given is vitality. So I had to design an interactive wall at the Port City they are constructing now. So it's a 38-meter wall. It's beside a jogging track and 6 foot high. So you can see the pink color one. So that's a place where I had to design that interactive wall. So before going to the interactive wall, first we have to know what's the wall. So we have seen many different kind of walls constructed for different purposes. They are for security and for represent their culture, etc. So likewise in Sri Lanka also we have walls in fortress and sigiriya in temples. They represent some different cultures, and mainly they constructed these walls for security purpose. And when we are saying interactive wall, most of the people don't have idea about the interactive wall. Mostly they are something made to interact people with it. So most of designers do a digital wall where you can you go in front of the wall and interact. You can make designs, patterns yourself. You can create something, or you can dance in front of the wall, or you can play with the shadow. Or some others do like physical activities. Some children can climb and play with the wall. So there are several kind of ways to interact with the wall. So for me, I want to create a wall where the wall stop people and make them interact and play and unite at the place. So it's for the Sri Lankan context. So I observe the Sri Lankan context. So it's a very dynamic culture we have, multicultural background we have, and nowadays people from every background. We are focusing on the development of our country. We are building the port city and new construction are coming up. So we are going forward through the developments. So likewise, that character, that dynamic character, I can see in the bubbles, air bubbles. So air bubbles also, they emerge from the bottom of the ocean, and they have a dynamic character, different shapes, sizes, and when they come to the top of the ocean, they unite. So I want to interpret that in my design. So I took an abstract of this pattern and I used that composition to make my design. So I came to this design. So if you see, it's a composition of seating spaces, resting spaces, and small shades and recreation spaces. And next, along the path, there's a linear glass container. So it's a water tank, a linear water tank. In that wall also there are seating spaces, etc. So what is inside the wall is it's filled with water, and so this is the basic concept I came up. So everyone knows the nozzles used to aerate the fish tanks, so it releases air bubbles all the time. So we can switch on and switch off the nozzle. So we can create some intervals in this the upgoing line. So likewise, we can have several nozzles and we can align them. When we align them, we can make some patterns with the produced air bubbles. So here, each air bubble is like a pixel to create the image, the two-dimensional state. So that's what I'm going to produce in this glass wall. So when someone go in front of the wall, the wall will produce some patterns, shapes, and some motions as well. So how it become an interactive is, first these air bubbles. We can create those patterns with the interesting property of the air bubbles. When some shapes are produced, that's not stable, so it's always going up. And we can make some pendulum shapes when switch it on and off from the right to left and again left to right. So there are some interesting characters in these bubbles. So how to make it interactive? So so for that we had to understand this basic diagram of the technology I have used. So here the people are the inputs. So when they come in front of the wall, they make some actions. So they can run, walk, and wave their hands. So those will be sensors. So that sends images and the signal will be sent to this Arduino board. So I will explain about this board later as well. So this Arduino board convert the image into a electronic signal. It's like on and off signal. So if some people with IT knowledge, they can easily understand, but it's like some electrical signal. So that will be sent to this solenoid valve. So solenoid valve is controlled by the electricity, and it release some air. So when it's released, we can see the shapes in the water. So we can have many solenoid valves. In my design, I have used about 1,000 solenoid valves. So that's how the people become reflection in this wall. So the wall actually reflect the people and their energy. So for different kind of motions, we can produce different kind of patterns. So that's the basic idea. And for this design, I have created a two-dimensional shapes, but in future we can add more air nozzles and create a three-dimensional shape. So we can align the nozzles in XY plane and can create a three-dimensional shape. So I came up with design. So we can even produce letterings. So in special days like New Year or Christmas also, we can produce some letterings. We can convey some messages as well. So in front of the space, there are seating spaces, and people can come sit. They can watch their children play. And they can use the seating mount on the wall. When someone run, we can create this kind of patterns. So in the night time also, it will light up from the top, so we can have a nice reflection on the bubbles. So with all the activities and the people integrated, this space become a vibrant, energetic space. So that's the top view of the design. And to come up to develop this design, we had came many options. We explained about the colors, what we had to choose. And I chose this Persian blue because that's the more suitable color for the context they are constructing now. And we had studied about the lighting method we had to use. And this is a section how it's worked, how the services are going at the bottom. And the service access, how we access the cables and the pipes. And we had to propose some materials, which is the best materials to do it. And which material we can achieve the minimum thickness. And the material we are going to use for the furniture seatings and other top covers. So so first, so this is a fun part, I think, because when I was first proposing, I can do the image, 3D images, and say this is how it's going to happen. These technologies are available, but when I was doing this, most people say, "Will this work?" So is there something like this? So they didn't understand and they didn't believe it will work. So I had to demonstrate how it works. So I went through the shops and bought this elements. So this the first one is the solenoid valve that control the air with the electric supply. And these I bought these small nozzles from the aquariums and make this setup. And for the input, I had to work in IT field as well. So I got a help from my friend, and this is the Arduino board I was talking about. So it's a basic kind of motherboard. So in foreign countries, in school levels, children are using this, but in our countries, we are not much using it. So we can just plug it to our laptop and we can simply create some codes. So it's like on and off inputs. So I made this small circuit and connected with my laptop, and I downloaded the software that's available in the internet, and I tried to create some patterns. So I connected this electric setup with the setup. So I made this water tank, and I aligned this producing nozzles at the bottom. So I try to demonstrate what we can achieve. For these are not precise or accurate things, but I can show how it works. So if you can see the video, in the first one, I try to achieve a V-shaped one. It's not precise because there are some practical issues. When we are experimenting something, there can be practical issues. In the second one, if you observe, there are those air nozzles are on switching off to the right side. So when someone walks to the right side, we can have this kind of pattern. But in real, the response will be quick. Here I have said that there are some practical issues. And in the third one, I set up the system into on and off. So I can create some square-like shapes. So this is how I work. So through this model, I demonstrated how it can be done. So that was a plus point in my design. Yeah, so that's my idea of this interactive work.
Thank you, Java. Indeed, it's a very interesting presentation, and it's really made me thinking how much that you know about electronics, how much you can think of binaries, whether those bubbles can work like LEDs, which was so 1-0 programming methods, and you have investigated into circuit boards, primary programming systems, and how you integrate everything in electrically as well as electronically into the system. So that is a very interesting presentation. And I have a couple of questions, but I'll leave it till the end of the session. But I would like to move to the group from CSA who have won the first place in bead sculpture. And I would like to hand over the session to them. Please go ahead.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So in the Envision the Future competition, our group participated in the beach sculpture competition. So we had to design a sculpture to be placed in the Marina Beach strip in the port city, and we all know that port city would be a world-class city in South Asia, and it has already won the global best project, and it has given Sri Lanka a pretty big international recognition already. The Marina Beach strip is one of the key elements in the overall project, and it's designed. The purpose of the beach was to create a sense of balance in our busy day-to-day lives. And the beach is to be symbolizing a sense of freedom and a sense to be able to express a person oneself. And art plays a major role in the expression of a person. And we all know that art is sort of like a form of language, and it adds a beauty, it adds depth into the it adds meaning to a city, and our sculpture would play a sort of significant role in this. And we wanted to depict and symbolize our dynamic, busy day-to-day lifestyle. So we designed a kinetic sculpture. So as told by the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, change is the only constant in life. So we all go through changes in our lives, just like our country. So even from name to name, our country was known by various names. For example, in King Vijaya's time, we were known as Tambapanni, after the copper-colored sand. And then we were known as Taprobane, Ceylon, and finally we were known as Sri Lanka. So even name-wise and land massing-wise, the Sri Lanka changed a lot. And Port City would also be one of the key significant turning points in our history. And even though Sri Lanka was subjected to change overall, we have sort of adapted to all of this change, and we managed to conserve our heritage as well. And we wanted to depict this in our kinetic stabile as well. So this change is represented in a daily manner, where the elements change due to winds, as well as change can be seen over the years by the use of our copper material, which I will explain to you later. And this the steel orb that we have hung would remain unchanged to symbolize the fact that even though we have adapted to change, we have still preserved our history for the future. And like I said, we used copper as our main element because the use of copper has gone predated to our prehistoric era as well. And we were known a lot well for our copper crafting skills. So we made jewelry as well as coins. So we thought of giving a tribute to this part of our historic past as well. And the fact that a historic element such as copper would be used in a futuristic sculpture, something that would last for a couple of years, is we wanted to, like I said, give tribute to our history. And the kinetic sculpture in this scale, our sculpture would be one of the first in Sri Lanka in such a large scale. So we wanted to make an interactive stabile, and even in it should be visually accessible throughout the day as well as the night. So we thought of having a sort of low light level so that it would create a sense of curiosity from a distance. So for our sculpture, the structural concept would be, so the main element is to maintain an equilibrium. So that is the main concept of our sculpture. So we had to think about the center of gravity of each element. So what we did was we sort of added weights and shifted each element's center of gravity so that it could be hung in a sort of slender form. And so what we did was we had a main big ring which would be anchored to the ground, and towards the either sides the rings would change in diameter and form sort of like a slender formation. And a major obstacle that we had to tackle was the fact that it was a kinetic sculpture and it would be subjected to a lot of movement. So what we thought of doing was limiting the angle of rotation. Instead of each element, other than the main structure, each element would be rotating. So we thought of limiting the angle of rotation so that it would rotate only a few degrees, as well as reducing the speed of rotation so that it can be more people friendly. And we also wanted to make it a little not a bulky structure, so we thought of incorporating 3D printing for the copper structure. and the steel orb would be fabricated using stainless steel sheets, cladding stainless steel sheets. So we used copper for the main structure, for the main as the main element because of its patinization, the formation of the blue-green color over time. Like I said, we wanted to use this this change over time to depict how we have adapted to change. So this patinization is our key element in our structure, in our design. And we all, in order to play more with this color change, we use two different finishes. The exterior would be polished and the interior would be bush hammered, so that the rate of patinization of the two surfaces would be at different rates. But the steel orb would remain unchanged. It would be simply as polished, seamless silver orb. So we also want, like, Port City is a new city. It's a new city that is to be built, and we wanted to create at least a visual connection between Colombo and Port City. So we oriented the sculpture so that the longer elevation can be accessed from the Galle-Face Green. So you'd see you'd see most of the sculpture towards the Galle-Face Green. So like I said, it would be oriented so that the wrong elevation can be accessed from the Galle-Face Green beach. And overall, well, the sculpture can be interacted with throughout the beach. So it can be experienced, and it can also be visual experience from Colombo as well. And we wanted to sort of create not only a tangible connection, but also an intellectual connection. And we hope that the users of the beach would also enjoy and interact with the sculpture while they have a nice spend the day on the beach. We hope that it would add a beauty to the entire Marina Beach strip, and we hope the users will enjoy it as well.
Viranga and Tarindu and Pulasti
Yes,
were the group together. Sorry, it was my mistake. I was on mute. And it's very interesting to see the sculpture. And last time when I was having a chat with Pulasti, he was telling about the city should have more public art installations. I know that you have gone in this direction as well. It's a very good thought. It's very interesting presentation as well. So since we now know how amazing your ideas are, and winning ideas and the winning designs are, so first I'll go back to Java to ask a couple of things from him.
Yeah.
So maybe he can help me with this.
Yeah.
Java, sometimes the first design idea works perfectly. Yeah. But sometimes you have to try different options to make a better idea, with a better presentable idea. What was your process? Was this the first idea, or whether you had some other ideas and you developed those as well, or how did it work with you?
Yeah, for me, core elements, that means the nozzles can, the air bubbles produced by the nozzles can reflect the person. So that's a basic concept on my design. So that one I was not changed, but the design, the appearance, the whole appearance. So initially, what I had is a fish tank. So I wanted to put the bubbles in water, but I thought, why are just having a water? Let's have a fish tank. So I came up with a linear 38-meter fish tank with plants, and within it the installations were there. But when we are developing the designs, I met these wonderful artists and architects. So they helped to develop this design. So when I interact with them, they said we can have an elegant art installation in this space. So I thought, why should I keep this fish tank? So I created some in-between spaces, the seating spaces. So the appearance was changed completely. So initially, it was so alien to the context, but now at the end I designed that can be applied for the exact location. Yeah.
Okay. And I see that you're working with one-to-one models, using technology, using new sort of methods, and maybe you're getting help from your parallels from the university in different streams to work on electronics as well. That's really interesting. And how did you overcome all these issues? Like you had the issue of barrier of knowledge, barrier of spending more money into this, and you really did one-to-one prototypes of this and checked whether it really works. How did you overcome all these challenges in Java?
So that's why. So initially I had the idea, but I had to demonstrate that one. So the demonstration is a very important part in my progress. So I got help from this my friend from IT field. So he's also an electronic engineer. So I talked with him how can we do this. So he gave me ideas. So these are the elements you can use. So he was in Jaffna, so I was in Colombo. So he told these items are available in Colombo. So I had to present. I had to make these models when the pandemic situations are taking over again. So the university started to close. So I went to the PETA and bought this stuff and took it to him. So he helped me to develop that one. And those things are very expensive. In the pandemic, I couldn't even find some stuff. So I did some similar materials I used. So somehow I managed to buy, and even some other friends also came to support in financially. So somehow I have managed to buy some stuff and make this done.
Thank you, Java. That's very inspiring. How you get the support from your friends and how good your friends are as well to extend that generous support towards you. And since you have answered about the people that whom you contacted and how they have given you the support, I'll move to the next question. It's like very interesting to see a design is winning, but when it comes to, you don't know whether you will win or not at the very beginning of the stage. Yeah. But you try very hard, but sometimes you will get criticism also, but still you work on that and you go for that design, and then that will win. Why do you think that the winners have a different mindset, and why do you think that your design was selected with I know it's a very brilliant idea, but I also think that it's a lot of work which is gone towards that, and the prototype was amazing. But did you think that your design is going to win, or what was back of your mind while you're working on this model? How much of an effort that you wanted to go ahead with it?
Yeah, so when I was developing this design, so I had my experience some many interesting incidents. So as I mentioned, the friend from the IT field. So I took this stuff and asked him to make a model, and he also working that time. So I always disturbing him to teach me how to do this, so I can do some stuff. So I usually go to his home and do this stuff. So he take a deep breath and teach me, these are the this is how you make this circuit, and this is the program. So I will install it to you, so you can do it by yourself. So I took it to my home and tried, and even I could make a better elegant circuits than him. So I took photos and sent to him. Here I have done better than you. And when developing, the critics are very important. So I usually discuss this design with my designer friend. There are two friends from my university as well. So I also always discuss it. And when I was working in a home, so I have siblings. I have younger brother and sister. So those critics are very important because they always critique in a negative manner. So they say, why are you wasting this much money? And when I was building this water tank also, my brother said, okay, let's finish this competition. Give me that tank. I want to grow some fish in that one. So likewise. And my sister, she said, so you can finally make my name on that wall, right? And why can't you make the blinking lighting on this wall? So I like this color. Why can't you put? So likewise. But their critics were very helpful. So those are from general perspective. So those are the interesting incidents I came across.
Thank you very much, Java. And I think you have a very nice, lovely family and very good set of friends as well, who really be there whenever you need. And now it's a very good thing that you have learned how to do the circuits and solve the circuits, and you're better than the other person who helped you. So that is how you should go for it. Thank you so much. And turning back to Tarindu, Pulasti, and Viranga, my first question to you guys is, you can divide among yourself, or either everybody can answer that question. So kinetic meets sculptures. It's a very interesting topic, as well as what you have done is very interesting. And though as much as it is interesting, it's challenging to do as well, right? So what challenges did you face while designing this?
Yeah, well, actually, in the beginning, like all three of us get together, and we were thinking on, okay, like how are we going to what are we going to do for this, and we were doing several sketches, and we came up with a interesting idea about a nice kind of a sculpture form, and also we were thinking on how about sea creatures and things like that. So how that this will be fit onto the context that they have given to for this competition. And when we actually developing this sculpture, we had to and initially also we wanted to come up with a kinetic kind of to add the kinetic component, kinetic quality into this our design, because as we explained in the presentation, so we wanted to show this quality, the changing, and the quality of the beach, the sea, how we can capture that. So it's like capturing the whole kinetic, the moving, the motion, and that kind of a quality. So initially the idea was very cool, and we were developing it, the idea, and we are thinking about, okay, how this each element is going to connect, and how this context is going to catch high winds, then what would be so like we our we had several sessions uh, in this process. Yeah, we had workshops with architect Ruchi. There was artist Anumoy Jayawardena, and there's architect Ismail, and they gave us very good input, and even we got help from our friends they actually few of our friends. So I'm actually from Kandy and I'm in a hostel in Colombo. So few of our friends visited our hostel, and they also like they really helped us doing this. They shared their knowledge. Actually they are seniors of us. They came and they shared our knowledge, their knowledge to how to develop this, and they gave us some really good input, and especially the CSA forum. They actually helped us about how to when in the presentation stage, to develop the presentation and things like that. I mean, that was a very amazing teamwork behind this, and especially our parents, they also actually helped us, and we three of us are working as interns, and we are working in 3 different offices. So, so we had to find time for this, to meet up and discuss about the our design idea. So like ideas came from everyone. So that was a challenging, but it's an interesting process.
Yes, sir. I want to add something to Pulasti. So,
Yes.
yeah, when we when he mentioned the sea creatures, so not only the sea creatures. So when we talk about the yeah, me and Pulasti and Viranga also discuss about that initially. So not only the sea creatures. When you go to the beach, actually you can feel the wind, but you can't see it, and you can see waves. Through waves you can see the wind. So we thought to get that feeling to a sculpture, so you can see you can feel the wind, and you can see the wind through a sculpture. So that's I want to add to Pulasti. So yes.
Thank you, Tanindu. Viranga, anything you wanted to add?
Well, like he said, we were at 3 different offices. So sometimes we had conference calls, and sometimes we met up somewhere, and then got together with. But sometimes it was difficult for submissions as well, and we had to take help from our friends. They really did help us with even 3D rendering the 3D. To figure out how our sculpture would actually work out, and we actually have to thank a lot of people in this, especially the CSA forum. When we were stuck, we contacted one of our lecturers, architect Anurangi, and then she coordinated with us, and got architect Mutiara, architect Nandaka, and architect Aishani as well. So we got their input into our sculpture. We wouldn't be able to actually make the overall final form if it weren't for their help. So I do want to thank all of them for their help.
Thank you so much. That's very nice of you. And I heard last time you thought of the public safety, and while thinking that you wanted to do different changes into the sculpture, and that was one of your primarily thing that you design was focused on. Can you explain about that a bit more?
Yes, sir. So initially we had a very thin. So actually, we want to catch the wind. That's the basic idea of the kinetic sculpture. So we had a very thin structure, and it's copper and it's heavy, and we want to counterbalance the all structures, all the parts. So that's our main key points. So actually, when we develop it, so I want to mention the workshop. So we had a very good workshop. So in the workshop, we came up with so structural issues. So in the workshop only we found those issues. So in the structure, when we do a sculpture or installation or whatever, so we have to think about the structural elements also. So we had like a few interims. We have to present our progress, and in the progress we only catch some parts. So we got very we got a we got a very good idea about the sculpture. So when we thought of that, all the issues, so safety and structural and a lot of things, and the materials, how we use it, well, it's weldo, riveto, it's nailed, and likewise. When we think about that, so we try to develop the design, but we thought we don't actually how do you say it? So we actually change the proportions, so and change the internal structural elements. So in that struggle, so we came up with some bulky kind of a thing. So after the final interim, we got some international methods also. So when we got that international methods, not only the local method, we couldn't find any construction method in Sri Lanka. So to very thin structure, very thin copper sheets welded together and counterbalance the thing, and the steel rods, how we not allowed to corrode, and how we stabilize it, and how we control the rotation, and the how connect the rods, kind of a thing. So actually last interim we got some international ideas from the grid panel, and the proportion. So we changed proportions also. And however, we came up after the final interim, we research about international methods, how we construct it, and the digital fabrication methods, and fiber methods, and whatever. We found very good methods. So we had a good experience, and a very good exposure. I want to mention it also. And after that, we initially also we actually tried with small models and 3D models, through SketchUp and through physical models. So we actually, me and Pulasti and Viranga actually made some physical models, half scale, quarter scale, and 1:1 scale. Like 1:1 means 1 foot into 1 inch. So likewise, so we tried with the plastic materials and the copper materials, and we found a copper sheet, and we welded together, and tried some small elements, and but small models and the 3D models worked. But when we come to large scale, and the wind pressure, and the structural element, and the weight, we couldn't actually work properly at the final interim. So after the final interim, we got some inputs, and not only the final interims, we had like a couple of interims. So we met artists and architects and engineers, and yeah, and also, and after that we got the idea, and we developed it. Yeah, actually, last few days we we actually compile. Yeah, how do you say? We actually collect, and we presented it right manner. Yeah, that's why we got this opportunity.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what you have gone through, and it's really inspiring, and how enthusiastic you are about this, and how passionate you are about the design. And anything else you want to add?
So as you mentioned at the end of our presentation, like we actually talked about this, even in the interactive wall and also the beach culture. Actually, there is a what this exercise and what this competition is something very important. As I see, it's very important in for Sri Lankan art also, because when we talk about a city public art in a city is very vital and it's very important, because and we see that public art is very less in Sri Lanka. It's very rare we can find in our new cities, which is developing, and which our people are using. And I think you need public art, and it's very important because it kind of representing its people. It actually creates some kind of a sense of belonging for that community. And I think this exercise, this competition has a very importance in that sense also. And also as I said, in other countries, in other cities, it's the public art is playing a major role in public spaces, in public platform, where because art is not something that should exist only in galleries or in white cubes. It should come out and it should be able to interact with the public arena, in the public level. So in an artistic way, like I like to share some ideas about it, because in our sculpture, basically when we are discussing about this, we actually started to think how the idea of Port City have affected our Sri Lanka people, and how our people would think about it. Because now we take that, if you think about that, because different people have different ideas about it, different opinions. Some they like this development, this kind of development. Some they don't want. I mean, there's a resistance for that. But if we take our history throughout the history, our culture is shaped and it's formed by different other cultures around the world, and we have influence. We have our culture has influence from those different tastes. And today the contemporary culture is a mix of all these streams. And I think I mean, even initially when those changes are happening, like as in colonial era, or even before that, if we take in the Polonnaruwa era, when the Hindu culture is connecting to our culture, and how we have now we that is in our culture, because we can see it. And even before, where our written history starts, where we say where the King Vijaya comes to Sri Lanka, and they started the first because the first settlements in around the Mallathoya. But that is also because when they come, there was a existing civilization, because that is also mentioned in our history. But those people would have also experienced the same kind of a a situation. Like there should be a kind of a change happening into and that has affected on the people. So however, we wanted to actually depict that change. If someone think about in that way in the about the history, so actually that change is also we are representing through our culture, how that change in as a country, how we have embraced it and how we are living it with that, and how we are developing our we are trying to developing our country with all that. And not only that, in a that is actually in a broad sense of view, point of view. So if we take in a personally, like this is in our design, actually we wanted to make this very interactive, where people can interact in a personal way, a physical way. They actually experience this change. uh, I mean, the materials we have selected, the how the color changes with the time, and physically the how being a kinetic sculpture with the wind, with the with the external forces from the nature, how the form changes, like every time it changes. So change, that change can be experienced through this monument. So it's something like that. So we are in if in a life, in anybody's life, anyone, if you take anybody's life, it's like we live in three main areas. Like we contemplate about our his past, and we are living in the present, and we have a hope for the future. So in that way also, like personally someone can interact with that culture, because now it's something that we wanted to like link those three areas of a life through that monument, so it won't be alienated. Like anybody can interact with it, because Port City is going to be a world class city. It's going to be very it will be a globalized city, where different people from different areas would come into that place. So this should be like a piece of art where everybody can enjoy, everybody can relate. So so in this design, like we wanted to kind of link those three areas to the sculpture, where personally a person can enjoy it, to experience it, not only as a it does we wanted it to represent the Sri Lankan uh, culture, the how the character changes with the time, and plus anybody from any other country also can come and experience it in a different way. So because art, music is something like it's universal. It's not something like it doesn't have only one answer. It has a different kind of different meanings. Like it has different representations. So that quality is also we wanted to uh, share with this. And again, of course, now this will going to be changed with the time, the materials, how it will look, the initial appearance. If a person now if a person go to this place where the sculpture is going to build up, when it's initially open, it will look very shiny surface, and the appearance would look like that. But if that person go there again in 15 or 20 years, definitely that person is also changed. His life has changed. It can it's not that person is not the person who is there before when he was at the initially when you know when this was open, but it he has changed, and so does the culture has changed with the time, the appearance and things like that. So that also it's some kind of a mirror where it reflects your change in your life and in your journey. So but we kept a component in our sculpture where it doesn't change. It has a constant appearance where it doesn't move with the wind, but it took- it even the appearance, the stainless steel, we wanted it to be as it is. So it's like the hope where we have for the future, like the things that we want we want to achieve, and things that hasn't changed in our life. Like there are constant things that we living with it. So there's a representation of that kind of a quality also, and I think our one has achieved that. Yes.
Thank you, Pulasti. It's very interesting to hear how you have thought of the timelessness of the project and different art forms, how you were, the meaningfulness of your project. It's very interesting. Viranga, would you like to add something about your project before I go to the last question?
Well, I think Pulasti covered what the design process of our entire, I think from the initial stage itself. So that he went over the design development. So yeah, we were thinking about the change. I mean, change was our main factor that we wanted to depict. And like Tharindu said, enhancing the quality, the wind movement. So we wanted to depict that, as well as the fact that no matter what, change is going to be something that's going to happen all the time. So we wanted, those were the two main elements that we wanted to depict in our sculpture, and I hope and I think we have achieved that in our sculpture.
Thank you, Viranga. And Javaneesan, would you like to add something about your project? Anything that you could explain to us?
I think now we are now experiencing these pandemic situations, right? So for a public space, the touching has become a taboo. So for that, so the people were limited from doing physical activities in the public spaces. So when I was designing my interactive wall, people can't touch, so that will be a negative aspect, but I have to keep the people active physically. So in my design, that's a plus point, because they don't need to touch, but they can go in front of the wall and jump and do whatever they like. So I think that's a good point in my design to win in this competition.
Thank you, Java. Thank you so much. This is my last question to you. So this can be answered in any order, but I would suggest Javaneesan, Tharindu, Pulasti, and Viranga. So my question to you is, we live in Colombo, so that is the CBD of Sri Lanka, the prime business district. And now we are getting a port city very next to that. And a lot of projects are coming up and a lot of projects are being built right now. So what do you want? What do you want Colombo to be in the future?
I think the projects like Port City, I'm really excited about this kind of projects. So in South Asian countries, so Sri Lanka is the first time we are doing. And other than that, I think we need some identity. So we can see the Colombo in some areas, like we have urban greeneries, our unique culture and tradition. So that should be also kept while developing this thing. Because when we are only considering about tourism and the stuff, sometimes this kind of pandemic situation can collapse. So I think, and we have very interesting spaces in Colombo, like golf face and other green spaces. I think we have to develop our city with those identities, and those identities have to welcome the world crowd to our country. So that's what I'm looking forward in developing Colombo city.
Okay. Sananda, would you like to take the chance of answering the question?
Yes. So, I like the current Colombo. So it has a very good different patterns. So port city, when we talk about the port city, so it's a future technology based like kind of a futuristic city. So when you talk about the fort is a very historical and kind of a very ancient kind of a appearance. So, and the Bambalapitiya and Bambalapitiya and Kolpiti likewise it has a very unique character. And when you talk about Boralla and Baudalagamavatha area, so it has a different character. So when we talk about the development, we are actually mainly think about the physical development. So it has a social fabric in the city. So in that social fabric, we have to develop the physical context with the social development. So when we develop the social and the physical together, we can get a better city. So actually, kind of a when in the example, so when we talk about the fort area, so it has a Hettividiya, Malwatta, and Maradana area. So it has a unique character, social character, and the building character. So when you talk about the Vellavath area, it unique facades are very unique. And when you talk about the Boral area, it has very green area kind of a thing. So when we develop the city, Colombo or whatever city, my perspective is that we want to preserve the those characteristic. So that's my idea, and the connection between the cities should develop. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you, Tarindu. Coming to Pulaste.
Talking about the development of Colombo, how I see about this, because now we know that technology is developing very fast. So I mean, things are getting very, very quick, very fast, and so I think the development, I mean, as a country, we also should catch up with that that pace. So port city is a new thing, and how the even the planning and the things that going to come up, it's very exciting. And it's as Java and Tarindu, how they explain, I mean, it's going to be very futuristic, it's going to be very modern and high tech, where compared to our other cities in our country. But there's an important thing that which I see, because now specifically if we take Colombo, it has a heritage. There's a history into it. So that history and that heritage is something that I think develops. It adds a value to that city. and to that people, and that itself builds a character of that place. Like, okay, this is Colombo, uh, uh, this is Rio de Janeiro, or something like that. So if I think each city has something like that, and though we need to capture that high tech and modern kind of a pace, we need to develop our cities, we need to develop our transportation, our logistics, and our other services. But our history and our that kind of a character should also be preserved, and where we can actually, as even in I explained in the sculpture, yeah, you know, there should be a link, so we know what our history is, our present, and there's a future that we have to think about. So I think cities, if the cities have all these layers, if the city can develop it with preserving all these layers, I think that will be great.
Thank you, Plastic. Viranga?
Yeah, adding on to that, even though Colombo or the country overall, we do need to develop, but we also have to maintain the open spaces, the green spaces, ecologically wise. I mean, urbanization is not just about putting up buildings. We have to preserve whatever greenery we have left, because it's reducing over the years, and we, while developing, we have to keep in mind that landscaping, greenery, ecologically, it plays a vital role in our day-to-day lives, and seeing just a concrete jungle would not help us. It will look a little monotonous and a little boring. So having greenery integrated into an overall master plan, it would give a beauty to a city. So that's my point. My point of view, we have to preserve whatever greenery we have and add if we can, wherever we can.
Thank you, Viranga. And it's fantastic to see how you think. It's fantastic to see how your design ideas are. And I think it's amazing session that we had today. And thank you very much for agreeing to share your presentation, the award-winning design, and full your ideas and how while you're designing the project, the greatest success that you have got, and without losing yourself at criticism, as well as learning new things, was the key to success. That is what you all expressing today. And I wish you, all four of you, a super academic life as well as a professional career in the future. And thank you again for joining with us. And I think it's one of the key things in this webinar series to have you guys. I'm really honored to have you. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having
Thank you very
us.
much.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
Yes.
Thank you so much.